Today we'll study about testing and verification. Till now, what we studied the fabrication of circuits. Then we studied how to draw the stick diagram and the layout diagram. Then we studied the how to make the ratios of the transistor. Then subsystem design we studied. In the subsystem design, how we can design the subsystem. The examples are ALUs, shifter, and adders. Next, we studied about the memory and storage elements like DRAM and SRAM. Now, these many things we might have studied. Now, this is the in VLSI. This will be your like the last the procedure. The normally when you're going for to design a one chip or when you're going to take out a chip. Now we need to know what is the difference between the testing and the verification. What is look like same, like the testing and verification. Here I can say the verification will be done the designer side. The testing will be done in the manufacturer side. Yes. So now what are the different kinds of verifications are there? What are the different types of testings are there? So that is what we are going to study here. Because if you want to fabricate a one IC, before the first what we need to design the IC, then finally we go for the manufacture. But the very important thing is before fabricating, we'll go for so many levels like verifications, because any one level if the verification gets fails, then what will happen when you're going for the fabrication? So once the fabrication is done, then again we cannot do the verification. If anything goes wrong, then so how much you fabricated the ICs, everything become waste. So you have to be very careful. That is one of the main important procedure, the verification procedure. But the testing, once it's fabricated also, sometimes you may think like before going to fabrication, you might have got the outputs are logically or functionally, it is correct. But once it's manufactured, that is manufacturer has done, after that they will do the manufacturer. So there will be chances of getting error there also. So now we are going to check, because before the verification will be done based on our like EDA tools, some software tools and all will be there. But what about testing? The testing is very, very important, because we need to test the IC based on applying different test vectors in the input. Then corresponding the response you have to check in the output of the IC. That is the only we can do. That too, it's very, very difficult to test all the ICs. So you have to be very careful, because nowadays ICs they are using in like industrial purpose, then they are using the medical purpose. If anything goes wrong, one simple even IC in the medical, if I say in the medical field, it's one small IC goes wrong during the fabrication time. So if it is not functioning properly, what will happen? So that will yield the big problem. So now what we'll see about like what are the things we are going to study in this chapter. First, we are going to study what is in the introduction about testing verification. What are the different types of the verification? Under the types of verification, we are going to study the logic verification or functionality test. Second type of verification is silicon debugging. The third one is manufacturing test. So in the manufacturing test, actually, we're having different types of manufacturing test is there. The one is the fault model. The second one is the automatic test pattern generation, shortly called as ATPG. Then delay fault testing. Next, we're going to study the design for testability. So here, one is the ad hoc testing. Then scan-based approaches. What are the different scan-based approaches are there? And the then built-in self-test, so one of the design for testability, then IDDQ testing. So these are the things we are going to study in this chapter. First, let us see here. As I said, this is nothing but our design flow actually. Normally, we'll say in short, like specification, then implementation. As you know, what is a specification? If they want to design any one IC, first they have to give the specification. The specification which indicates like the number of inputs, what will be the output. So based on that, we have to design our circuit. Once the circuit is designed, next what will do, that has to be implemented. That has to be implemented. That is what these two processes will be done during the pre-silicon process. That is, I can say this is under designer side, I can say. This is designer side. That is why I can say. Next, I can say prototyping. Next, after the post-silicon, we have to get the prototyping. Also, we have to go. Once the prototyping is over, next we'll go for the manufacturing. So here, the specification, the implementation, and the prototype, all things will come under design, synthesis, and validation. As you know, what is the procedure? The first procedure, what you'll do first, you have to write the code in the behavioral description. Or behavioral description means either any language you can use, either C, C++, HDL languages and all. So after that, what we'll do, we have to check our output, whether it's properly giving the output or not. After that, what we'll do, we have to do the synthesis. The synthesis, what it will do, it will generate a netlist, or it will convert the software to the hardware level diagram, it will generate. Once it is done, after that, what you have to do, next you have to do the some of the validations or the analysis you have to do, that is the timing analysis you have to perform. Once if it is meets all the timings, then what you have to do, you have to go for the floor planning. Finally, we will go for the target. If you are having the if it is a FPGA readily, if it is available, so just we will download into the hardware. Then we'll once again we check whether it is giving the proper output or not. So we'll check two-level verification we'll do. Like one level, the first level verification will be done in the simulation side. The second level verification will be done in the board. That is the prototyping there only. So the otherwise, like even if you want to go for manufacturer, so finally, like you are deciding that I can go for the manufacturer also if I need individually for that. That is why this is for pre-silicon, this is for post-silicon. So this prototyping and the manufacturing will be in the manufacturing and testing. This will be actually. So now what we'll do, so in simple we can say here, see, the verification will be done in two levels, like during the specification, from specification to netlist. So there actually we'll do the verification. That is nothing but the name of verification is nothing but what it is, a hardware design. It is nothing but a hardware design. So I can say it's a hardware verification actually. So from the specification to netlist, what I'll get? We'll get the hardware design actually. Next, from netlist to silicon, that is nothing but a testing. Here only we'll do the testing from netlist to silicon. So same way I can say this is the process, nothing but the manufacturer testing I can say. That is why I can say, so the verification will done by the designer level, the testing will be done in the manufacturer level. So because as you know, the designer and the verification, you can say design engineer and verification engineer. In VLSI, if I say design engineer and verification engineer. So now the design engineer and the verification engineer, for both of them, they'll give the same specification. But how they understood, the designer may understood something, the verification engineer also may understood something. Both will get only the specification they'll get. What the design engineer will do, he will design a circuits, then completely, once it's designed, then he'll pass to the verification engineer. What the verification engineer will do, the verification engineer will not worry about what the design it is. What is his role? His role is just to check, just to passing as per his specification, passing the input, whether it is giving the proper output or not. In simple, I can say here in this our system, if we say you take your system, okay, in your computer, they designed what the verification they'll do. Just you go for the menu button is there, right? A file, edit, everything. If you go to file, if you click something, if it is working, yes, that is a verification. Yes. So when I click edit, when I do copy, when I paste, yes, it's working. This is the role of the verification engineer, but he doesn't know how it has done actually. Like once again, file, menu, copy, paste, so many things. All those things, the verification engineer doesn't know how it is designed. That is why the verification engineer no need to worry about what is the design has done. But in verification here, two different types of engineers are there. One is a hardware verification, another one is software verification. The hardware verification in the sense the designer will verify with the hardware level. The software verification in the sense using the software languages like the hardware. Say example, for using the integrated circuit, the verifications are called as hardware verification actually. But in the software levels, the software which are they using so many software, higher level softwares are there, software verification engineers will be there. Right? So now next will be the verification and testing. Here we will give you in detail the difference, or I can say the comparison between the verification and the testing. So the verification, the verifies correctness of the design. Next, performed by simulation, hardware emulation, or formal methods. Then the verification will be performed once before the manufacture. This is what I said. The verification will perform once before the manufacture. Next, the verification engineer, it's a responsible for quality of design. That is very, very important. So that because once if I want to release any product, a very important thing is the quality is very, very important. So the design, the responsible for the quality of design actually. Next when I go for testing, so the same that verifies correctness of manufacturer hardware actually. The testing engineer verifies the correctness of manufacturer hardware. Here the testing will be in two parts of process. The one is test generation, the another one is test application. The test generation in the sense the software process executed once during the design. That is nothing but test generation. The software process executed once during the design in the sense the testing engineer also after the manufacture will test the design actually with the help of the software. Like say example, EDA software. Using the EDA software, they'll check the design also once. Then the test application, electrical test applied to hardware. That is also has to be done. Because during the manufacture, the electrical connectivity, the electrical test and all we have to apply to the hardware. So with the help of the application also they will do. Next, the test application performed on every manufacturer device normally. So the test application will be performed for each and every manufactured device actually. So even this testing, that is engineer also is responsible for quality of device actually. So the verification engineers is responsible for quality of design actually, because if anything goes wrong in the design, the verification engineer is the responsible. But if anything goes wrong in the device, quality of the device, then the responsible for the testing, whoever the manufacturer tester, the manufacturers, who is the manufacturer, only they are the people who are responsible for this. Now, let us say the different types of verification. The first verification is logic verification, or we can say functional test. What is meant by logic verification? This test verifies the chip performs its intended function. Like a logic verification, if you have designed a one full adder circuit, what you have to do, you have to verify the functionality of the full adder, whether it will behave as a full adder. The full adder which will add, like it has three input, then two outputs. When I give the input as 1, 1, 0, it must to produce a sum as 1 and the carry is 0. Same the way we need to check. That is what the logic verification or functionality. Simple we can say This verification will be checking the functionality of the design. It verifies. So at the same time, it runs, which one the logic verification will be run before the tape out. Tape out in the sense the final before sending to fabrication, sending to the manufacturer, it has to be verified to verify the functionality of the circuit. That is nothing but the logic verification. Second, silicon debugging. Here the silicon debugging is a run on the first batch of chips that return from fabrication. Once your design went to fabrication side, there actually what will happen? So like the first batch of chips that return from the fabrication, that will be silicon debugging they will do. Once, if the test confirms that the chip operates as it was intended and help debug any discrepancies. So now if the test confirms that the chip operates as the designers has given the specific, if it was intended and help debug any discrepancies. If there is any problem, we can debug it. But the very important we see, once it's fabricated, once the IC has come, then even though if there is any error also, we cannot able to correct it. That is very important. Then it can be much more extensive than logic verification. Simple, here the silicon debugging in the sense simple, I can say, example, we can take it as FPGA. The FPGA is a FPGA, okay, example, take it FPGA. FPGA is readily available in the market. Now what I will do, I want to design my own circuit. So if I want to design a own circuit, first what I will do, I need to design the circuit, okay. Once if I design the circuit, I cannot go directly for the manufacturing of my own IC. Because what you can do better, before that, let us check with the one temporary platform, that is the, we can, if there is any problem is, say example, FPGA is there, okay. You might have got the correct output in the design. While doing the simulation, everything got proper output. But after you downloading into the FPGA, if you are not getting the output properly, what will happen now? The problem is not with your design. The problem is with the FPGA. So that is why I can say the very, very important, it is more extensive, that is more extended as a logic verification test, because the chips can be tested at the full speed in a system normally. Before they sending this to the market, they will check completely in a full speed of that. That is the example I can say. Another one is example I can say. You can take your computers. The computers will have the microprocessor. Now they designed a one microprocessor. One microprocessor, if it is designed, how we come to know whether it is properly working or not? The simple what they will do, one motherboard would be there. They replace the microprocessor old one with the new one. They'll fix a new microprocessor, place a prototype motherboard to try to boot the operating system. If your system is not booting, then what happened? Your microprocessor gets fails actually. So that is why it's very, very extensive, or I can say more expensive also this normally. Next is manufacturing test. The manufacturing test will be, is one of the very important test actually. So that will verify that every transistor, each and every gate and every storage element in the chip functions correctly. If I take a one chip normally, how I check in the sense, I should go the bottom level. Which is my bottom level in the chip? The chip design actually, the bottom level is transistor level. Okay, from the transistor to only I'll go for gate. From the gate only next level I'll go. From the next level to higher level I'll go. So that is why. So it has to verify each and every level we have to verify. Then only we can say the chip function just correctly is doing. Then the tests are conducted on each manufactured chip before shipping to customer to verify that the silicon is completely is correct. Very, very important. Before releasing to the customers, each and every manufactured chip will be verified, or before shipping any ICs. For example, in the market, it's available like a 8051 microcontroller. So in the 8050 microcontroller, before shipping, so what they will do, the manufacturer said they will test completely, then only they will set. but we cannot say 100% accuracy. That is very, very important here. Now here, when I go for the manufacturing test, one of the very important parameter is nothing but yield. Yield is the ratio of number of good chip divided by the total number of chip per wafer. As you know, the wafer is nothing but how the wafer will be there, as you know already, right? So this is my wafer. The wafer, the size of the wafer is around how much it is, like around 15-inch diameter, we can say. Then what will be that? So like your IC will be like what? So simple, we can say. Yes. Now this is the wafer actually. Now in this, we can say which is IC. Now here I can say this one is the this is nothing but a IC. Okay. Now this is the one single IC. Now in this wafer, I can say there is the number of good ICs, we can say number of good IC divided by total number of die. So simple, if I say one single wafer, if I'm having, so yield is equal to around, if I'm having 90 divided by 100. Single silicon wafer has 100 chip. In that, out of 100, 90 is good. Then what is my percentage? The percentage is 1% actually, it's waste, right? I can say 90% it is good. The yield in the sense 90% I can work. Only the problem is only how much percent? 10% only. It is not good, right? So now because of the complexity of the manufacturing process, not all the chips on a wafer functions correctly. That is very, very important. So when the complexity get increases in the manufacturing process, because every 18 to 30 months, what happening? The number of transistors gets double. So if the number of transistors gets double in the sense, what will happen? There will be more complexity. So that is what we said, all the wafers will not work properly also. Sometimes the ICs, due to that IC also will not work properly. So due to the silicons, the wafers, why it won't work properly in the sun? Due to some reasons. What are the reasons in the sense? There will be reasons for dust particles. The dust particle, in the, as you know, in the fabrication room, inside the fabrication room, normally, not even a single dust particle should not be. Even a single dust particle will yield a problem actually. So the problem is dust particle and the smaller imperfection in starting the material or photo masking can result in bridging connections or missing features. While doing the photo masking, also what will happen? There will be a problem like the bridge connection means, the meaning of the bridge connect means it's a short circuit or the open circuit between two lines. So that can be happen during the photo masking. Due to that also your silicon wafer will not function properly. Due to that corresponding in this silicon wafer, especially in this IC, there is some problem over there. So this IC will not work properly. So these imperfections result in what is a term called as fault. This is only we can call as fault. So now when you're going to testing a chip can occur in the following levels. We can test the chip in the different levels we can check. For the different level, in the sense from the bottom you have to go. That is nothing but this level is come as like this actually. So the first will be a wafer level. So we can do the testing in a wafer level. Next we'll go for the packaged chip level. Then we can go board level design. Then we'll go for system level design. Then finally can go for field level. So in these are the different levels we can test the IC actually. But So in this, each and every level will give you different results actually. So say example, if I do the testing in a system level, example, what will happen? I won't get 100% accuracy. I won't get even board level. If I go also, I won't get 100 level. So when you'll get the 100 level, at least 100% accuracy, or at least 99.99 accuracy, in the sense when I'll get during the transistor level testing. Or I can say here, if you find out the problem in the beginning itself, then it is very easy to correct the problem. If you are identify the problem in the system level, what will happen? The system level, in the sense, say example, your motherboard. Once completely motherboard of your system has come, now after that, if you are verifying that if any problem, what will happen? If it doesn't know, it's it will be very costly. The yield will be very cost. Same the way with like a board level. If I go for a board level also, it will be the board, in the sense, example, you can take a development board. You might have know that Arduino board, Raspberry Pi board, right? So in the Raspberry Pi board, if you are having, if you want Raspberry Pi board, if they're not tested or completely board is over. Now if you have started to check, what will happen? So again, there is a problem. So that is why I can say package chip level means that is each and every chip. So if you check the only IC, what will happen? Even if there is any mistake, if you're not producing any proper output, the corresponding IC, you have to throw the IC. So that also will be a problem. Now what I have to do? I should go still in down. That is a transistor level. That is an important thing. Now the verification is nothing but logic verification. So here, this is the so various levels of abstraction we are showing. What are the various levels of abstraction? Nothing but here I can say the one is behavioral specification, RTL specification, structural specification, then physical specification. These are the different levels of abstractions. So now first behavioral specification. What is the behavioral specification? The behavioral specification, nothing but the designers can be programmed with the specification using a higher level script or higher level languages, either C, C++, VHDL, or Verilog language or system Verilog language, any language they can use in this way. That is the one way. What is the another way actually? The another way is nothing but what? We can draw the schematic diagram, then also we can go for the first. Let us see here. It is nothing but like I'll go for from once the program is written. Example, okay, you return the program for any program, any VHDL or Verilog program is written. Next, what you do once the program is written, next we need to check whether which program you wrote is right or wrong. How you come to know that? Properly applying the inputs, then you have to check the output. So for that, what you need to do? You have to perform a simulation. That is nothing but formal verification, or I can say functional verification. That is, you have to do the simulation. The simulation is nothing but applying the proper test vectors. That is nothing but test vectors means what? Input test values. So applying the proper test vectors, then check the whether it is whether we are getting the proper output, or I can say whether the output is responding with respect to the input. If it is done properly, then next I will go for the RTL specification. So in the RTL, that is register transfer level. What I'm doing, this if you are written the program as a combination circuit, example, if you have written the program for combination circuit, that will be converted to a sequential circuit. In the sense, what will happen? It will be added with some registers. How in the sense? Example, I can say you need to perform a addition of A plus B. Normally, I know to perform an addition of A plus B, it is a combination circuit purely. But when I go for RTL specification, how it will be done in the sense like the value A will be stored in a register of A, then the value B will be stored in a one register, then it will perform a addition, then finally the result will be stored in a one register. That is why the transfer register level. So your things will be transferred to the registers level actually. Automatically what will happen compared to this hardware complexity, here the hardware component will get more, correct? That is why from software to hardware level it will do. That is one of the other way I can say. Synthesis also I can say. Now, once the synthesis is done, next what we will do, once it's done to the synthesis, here is the process to perform the verification. Here only we can do the verifications. Like first, we can do the timing analysis, whether it is meeting that timing proper. Like say example, what are the timing? Setup time, the hold time, clock skew. So many different timings are there that will be analyzed. Then noise analysis. Then everything will be done during this process only. Now, next is a structural specification. The structural specification, nothing but I can say, this is another way of behavior. So here, till here I said, right, as the same, the structural specification means they given some specification. One way is you can write the code. The another way is you can draw the schematic diagram. This is what the another way. So you can draw the schematic diagram for the circuit. Then after that, once the diagram is drawn, schematic diagram, next what you have to do, you have to draw the layout diagram. Once the layout diagram is drawn, so what you have to do before going to the layout, what you have to do, you have to do the simulation first. So that you have to do the simulation, applying the proper analysis. You have to do different analysis you have to do, namely transient analysis, DC analysis, AC analysis, noise analysis. So different types of analysis are there. So you have to perform those kind of analysis. After that, what you have to do, you have to go for the layout. Once the layout is done, again you need to perform a simulation. Why? Because so sometimes in layout you might have used so many layers you use, right? Due to that excess of layers when you use, what will happen? Your simulation might have given the output, say example delay, example I'll take, before layout you might have got the output, that is a propagation delay from input to output, you might have got as 1 nanosecond. But once you drawn the layout, after that you done the simulation, there if you might have got as 1.5 nanosecond delay. What happened now? So there was a delay in the layout actually, so that we have to be very careful there while doing. So once it is done, next what you do, once the delay layout is done, next you have to do the ERC. That is, ERC is called as electrically rule check. Means what it will do, it will check the proper electrical connectivity of your layout, whether is there any electrical connectivity is missing or not. Then once it is done, next you have to go for DRC. What is a DRC? The DRC is nothing but design rule check. The design rule check in the sense whether you drawn the layout as per the design rules. The design rules is given from whom? The manufacturer was doing the manufacturing of a circuit. They only given the technology. Example of manufacturers are, example I can say TSMC is one of the manufacturer, or I can say Global Foundries. So these are some of the manufacturers I can say. So now once the DRC is over, design rule checker, it is over. Next you have to do the layout versus schematic. What is this layout versus schematic? What you've done in the schematic, like say example, the libraries, the technologies, or your sizing of the transistor and the electrical connectivity, whether you've done the same thing in the layout or not, it will cross check whether both are same. If both are, it is same. Next, what you can do, you can go for the parasitic extraction. This parasitic extraction is nothing but you are going to extract the parasitic resistance and the parasitic capacitance, resistance capacitance to calculate the delay. So here only we'll come to know, like very important, you need to reduce the parasitic resistance capacitance. That is very, very important. That is what your physical specification. Once it is specification is over, next step is what they will do. They'll go for the floor plan. So once the floor plan is done, that is floor plan. Once the floor plan is done, finally they'll go for the format, that is for tape out. They'll call us tape out. That is a format is nothing but GDS2 format. This is the kind of the format they will send to the fabrication or the manufacturer they will send. This is about the logic verification normally. This is before manufacture. Everything the designer sides has to be done. Next, logic verification principle here. See, once we are going to do perform a logic verification, now take an example. As I said, logic verification, how it has to be done in the sense, say example, for n input, if I take example, if it is a full adder, example, if I take, how many input? Input is 3-bit. So next, how many test vectors are required? It is 2 to the power n. So totally I can say 8 test vectors are required. Okay, so 8 test vector required in the sense only how many input is? Input is 3 actually. So input is equal to 3 in the sense, example, when I convert to RTL level, right? So automatically it may require 6 registers. Example, if it is required 6 register in the sense, now how many test vectors are required during the testing process in the sense 2 to the power n plus m, where n is nothing but number input, m is nothing but register. So will be like this what 6 plus 3 9. So it will be nothing but 2 to the power of 9. The 2 to the power of 9 is nothing but 512 test patterns we have to give. See, so these 512 test patterns has to be verified. Then only all the 512 test patterns, if it is verified, means 512 combinations. You remember 512 combination, 512 test pattern means. So 512 combination has to be verified because your test vector size is what? 9-bit value actually. So 9-bit value, if I take 512 combination will be there, you have to check with 512 combination, all the combination if it is producing time properly. Now you check, to check for first only one combination only, if it is taking 1 nanosecond in the sense, then you think how much it will take. It may take us 512 nanosecond to check your one full adder only. Okay, that too, see 3-bit full adder. For 3-bit full adder, it takes how much second? 512 nanosecond it takes. Now you think, same the way, for n input combination circuit is required 2 power n text vectors to verify the output. So now I can say the combination circuit convert to sequential circuit with the addition of m registers. Now you can say minimum test vectors records are 2 power n plus m test vectors must be applied to test circuit. Now if I calculate this, how much is required? 2 to the power 75 test patterns are required. That is one pattern required 1 microsecond means test records billions of years required. See, to test all the combination billions of years required. So from this you can say for a combinational circuit, this is my combinational circuit has n input, n output. Now what I'm doing, the combination circuit will be adding the addition of registers, convert to sequential register. That is why combination circuit is converted to sequential circuit with the addition of m register. This is the registers actually. Now this is my input m. N is nothing but I'm applying here 25 is my input. Now here the registers, here the m is equal to 50 actually, is equal to 50. Now we need to check how much the test patterns are required to generate of this 25-bit numbers actually. Totally the 2 to the power of n plus m, that is 2 to the power of 75. So which is approximately 3.8 into the power of 22 to test one pattern. That is to test only one pattern value requires 1 microsecond. If I consider as 1 microsecond means, then to test this requires billions of years. That is why normally they want to test the complete the input pattern. So that is what later we are going to study. So how they are going to test it. Now, what are the different methods of logic verification? There are the different methods of logic verification. The method is applying the test vectors. Second one is applying the test benches and the harnesses or harnesses, I can say. Third one is regression testing. The fourth one is version control. Fifth, bug tracking. These are the methods of logic verification. So now, first, test vectors. What is a test vectors? Actually, test vectors in the sense applying the input cases. Applying the input cases, test vectors means. So, like say example, individual you are applying, right? You might have done in your Xilinx, you know that, right? We used Xilinx 14.5. In that, what you did, once you return the program, after return the program, you might have done the simulation. How you done the simulation? For each and every input signal, you applied or you forced the value. Correct? So each and every time you need to force a value, applying the test vectors, then will verify your output. That is what here can say the test vectors are set of patterns applied to inputs and set of expected outputs I will get. So now the both the logic verification and the manufacturing test requires a good set of test vectors. So very important, simply I cannot give that test vectors. So when I'm doing the manufacturing test or when I'm doing the logic verification also, the both are require a good set of test vectors. So set of test vectors in the sense here, I can say the set should be large enough actually to catch all the logic errors and the manufacturing defects. It's small enough to keep test time reasonable. So now when you're going to test in the sense, instead of applying very small value, we can apply a large value, then we can check it. So for the all the possibilities. Now what I can do, what are different types of test vectors here in the sense, one is directed vector, the another one is random vector. So directed vector in the sense, we are going to apply directly the input value, that is, it is selected by an design engineer. Okay, it is nothing but apply design engineer. So normally in the sense, sorry, verification engineer, I can say R. So it is selected by an engineer who is knowledgeable about the system. See, very important means I can say this will be design engineer. So only the design engineer only knows the knowledge about the system. Then there's a purpose is to cover the corner cases where the system might be most likely to be malfunctioning. Next, the circuit could be tested by applying all combinations of these directed vector to various inputs. How I will apply in this example, consider 32-bit data path. As you know, data path in the sense what? Data path will be consist of like your ALU and shifter. The example I say, okay, your data path is consist of ALUs and the shifter. Now, the one of the possibility of my text vector is here. Directly, I'm going to give all or zeros. That is the one of the possibility. So, see, all or zero I'm applying. The second possibility, I'm going to apply all or ones actually. So, that is another possibility. Next possibility is nothing but one in the LSB. Just I'm going to apply only one in the LSB. Next, I'm going to apply one in the MSB. This is one in the MSB in the sense, this are all the values which is showing, say, hexadecimal values. So only, okay. So 800 will be there. One. So first time applying only for LSB is 1. Next we are applying for MSB 1. Next, what you are doing, we are alternating the zeros and ones. These are all alternating zeros and ones, like 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, like that. Okay, 0, 1, 0, 1 in this way. Next, alternating ones and zeros. Next, here it will be like a 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0 like this. So here you see 0, 1, 0, 1 in the sense, if I say it becomes 5 only, it is like A. Okay. Now finally see a random value. So these are the different directed vectors as input we are applying into the system, we have to check. Now here, there will be a possibility, there will be a malfunctioning when I apply this. There is a possibility of, because if I check only this, we cannot assume or we cannot think my system is working properly. Because I'm not applied all the, in the sense 32-bit data path in the sense, you should think 32 bits in the sense, like example, 32 is nothing but your input. Now you assume the registers around example is 64. Example I'm saying, okay, the 64 registers are there. Then the 2 to the power of 32 plus 64 is nothing but 2 to the power of 96. If I'm doing the verification for this, applying the test patterns, then millions of million years will take. So just only for this we are doing. Next, what I do, random vectors. This is why. So random vectors, how we can apply? Apply a large number of random or semi-random vectors is a surprisingly good way to detect more errors actually. Normally, so to generate a large number of random values like this, how we can generate? So you need to write a one simple coding you have to write. So that coding will generate a random value, right? So that is what I can say. That is a random generator they can say. Now next is the method is test benches and harnesses we can say. Test benches. Now if you want to verify any one circuit, what you'll do, the another processes in your Xilinx only you might have done. You wrote the test bench program. Through the test bench program, what I can give the test vectors through the test benches. So through the test benches, if I want to write, say example, in your test benches, you might have written like this. I hope you remember that. Initial begin A is equal to 0, B equal to 0, then hash 5, A is equal to 1, B is equal to 10. Like this you might have given. But instead of this, what I can do, I can generate the value also. So how we can generate in the sense, just very simple, we can generate in the test bench. Always we can use the for actually like what I is equal to 0, then I is equal to 0, I less than or equal to, or I equal to, you can say I less than or equal to how many input you want. Say example, I can say the inputs are around 5 inputs if I take, or 5 inputs example if I take, then I will be is equal to I plus 1 is equal to I plus 1. If I say now here I can generate like this, begin, what will happen? Then it's like this. So nothing but A of I, one variable is to be the right. So nothing but Y of I, or I can say A of I, or I can say after some delay also. You can use some delay also. Use some delay, then our output will be. So here the statements will come. Then we'll get. So now automatically what will happen here? It will be generate automatically. No need to write each and every time here. It will generate automatically here. So that is what we can do with the help of the test benches also. This is one of the easy method. The verification test bench is a piece of HDL code. See, verification will be a piece of HDL code that will be placed as a wrapper around a core piece of HDL to apply check test vectors. Now, in the simplest test bench, the input vectors, that is nothing but input vectors are applied to the module under test, and at each cycle, the outputs are examined to determine whether they completely with a predefined expected data set or not. So what will happen each and every cycle, it will produce the output, because even the input is changes for each and every time. That is the meaning. Each and every cycle means what? I can say each and every time, right? Each and every time actually when the input get changes, the output also will be evaluated. The expected outputs can be derived from the golden model and saved as a file, or value can be computed on the fly. So sometimes what I can do in this one, I can perform something in the test benches, then I can save the output as in one file also separately. I can save. Later also we can say. Example, simple I can say, example here, numerically controlled oscillator. So this will generate the sine wave actually. Say example, so how I need to generate the sine wave? The one here I'm going to show some two ways of generating the sine waves here. So how in the sense, say example, using the test bench cases only. So here, this is the test bench program. This is one here which I'm showing here. This is a test bench program for NCO test structure. That's to generate the sine wave actually. So no need to worry about all those things because this is a no need. See, this is the normal parameters, the registers and the integers. So here the word sign, here the initial begin okay, because sine wave in the sense normally you will have the initial phase, the phase delta, everything will be there. See the module. This is the module that is NCO. That is this is the mod. This is our module. DUT means design under test. This is our complete model, right? See, we given over there. These are the following inputs we are passing. The output is sine wave actually. So now we are generating the sine wave. Very important here. You see the $f, right? What you are doing for each and every time, what is the value of sine that will be written into one file. The name of the file is called as plot file. You see, in the system only will do. So the value will be generated, that will be written. So finally here, how will get in the sense, like in the system, there will be a one file that is called as plot file that will have the time here. The time will be there. Your corresponding values will be there. So each and every time the value will be there. This is the sine wave. So now this will be like one method actually. The another method, how can I generate in the sense simple, you done in a HDL lab. In a HDL lab, actually, there is a sine wave generation is there. The sine wave generation doesn't what I will do. I will calculate the values of sine wave here. See here for this each and every value. This I will save in a one file. Like I'll save in a one file that is nothing but it's a memory file. I can call this memory file. This is called as memory file. Okay, in the memory file, I'll save all the data related to sine wave. Now what I will do, we'll apply the function, the system test function $read mem h means we are going to read the memory. H is hexa value. All the values are in hexa. So these values I'm accessing. We are going to read. The name of the file is what? Xsine.dat. From this, I'm reading the value, my output will be expected sign. So straight away I can generate. This is the alternative way actually. So now we'll see here. The one thing is, one more thing, you may have the doubt. How I know this value correct as to find out this value? For that only what will happen, we can write the MATLAB program for this actually. See here. The MATLAB code which generates the one cycle of 8-bit sine wave. This is the MATLAB value. See here. See, this is the T1 to 256 actually. This is a formula to generate the sine wave. So now after this here, what happened? F is a F open sine.dat means the value will be generated. This S value, right? This value will be generated. That will be returned in the sine.dat. F open means like this is nothing but a file open. The file will be open. The data will be written with the file name as sine.dat. Again, F1 is equal to F open xsine.dat means so x in hexadecimal I need to write in hexadecimal. So now how your hexadecimal file, this if you open this, how the data will be there? Like this only data will be there. If I open the file of this, if you open this file, my data will be like this. These are data are generated. So now this will be a memory file actually. This will be your memory file. This is the memory file data. This is the memory. This is a memory is which memory? It is a one dimension, two dimension. It is a one dimension memory actually because these all are addresses. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 address. Then this is the data. The data is something how much? It is 8-bit data. Data is 8-bit. This is a memory actually. So totally value will be how much value will be? Around 256 values will be there. Next is regression testing. What is one way regression testing? Just going back to the previous state. That is nothing but a regression testing here. So now the regression testing is nothing but a full or partial selection of already executed test cases which are re-executed to ensure existing functionalities working fine or not. So now what you need to do, example, you take a one full adder or you take a one ALU. What you need, you might have checked, you might have tested that. Okay, the testing as you might have done fully or partially, already executed. Again, what you need to do, you need to re-execute. Why you need to re-execute now? Example in the sense, say example, I can take a one simple task, like say example, one project is there, okay? There is a one project. This is my one project I can consider. Now for in this project, around 5 models are there. So some 5 people are working. Some 5 people are working in this model in the sense, what I can do, this is called as shared development. So all 5 members can access this. All the members can access. What they can do in the sense, they can modify, they can update. Same the way they can access and they can modify and they can update. Even they can access, they can modify and they can update. So now what will happen? Here is the one system in the sense. Now what happened? First is sometimes they might have not done the completely verification is not, testing is not done. It is not done like partially only. Now, if you want to re-execute, ensure that the existing functionality working fine. Means you might have added in your ALU additional feature you might have added. Say example, you might have designed the ALU. Okay, you design the ALU. Later, you added one extra feature that is nothing but A plus B. First, you design the ALU without this feature. After that, you run that ALU with completely all the cases, it is working fine. Now, when you add A plus B, again, what you have to do? Again, you must to re-execute to ensure the existing functionality. Same time, the existing functionality is working fine. That we have to do. Or in simple way, I can say in this way also, this is a one gate. This is a one gate. I'll do here one simply, I will add a one inverter. Here, I will do one simply a one inverter. I will connect here. See example, what is this? I done some modification, but my output is same only. Why? Because this is the buffer. Same thing only, correct? So what should happen when I run this complete entire? So it should not affect the functionality of the previous what you've done. Same thing should be. That is why further what they will do, we'll use a high-level language script. That is example, C, HDL, system D, system Verilog, because this and all what we are studying is some verification, correct? It's like in the verification, one of the languages nothing but system C, or I can say system Verilog. The very important nowadays they're using called as universal verification methodology. This is the tool actually they're using for verification. Especially the VLSI verification, they're using UVM. That only they're using. So now the high-level languages are frequently used when running large test benches. See, when you're going to use large test benches, means example, if a test vectors are very huge, at that time they will use the high-level scripts we'll use. That is especially for regression testing. When you're going for this testing, you have to use this. So now the regression testing involves performing a suite of simulations to automatically verify that no functionality has intentionally changed in a module or set of modules. So now like when you're going to involve the performing of the simulation, it's automatically it will be verified. Like say example, what will happen? Regression testing is a software tool. It's a tool. Okay. Now if you do any modification, what will happen automatically? If some modifications occurs, again you need to run the regression testing. So each and every time if any update is happened, it has to run completely. That is what. So intentionally change in a module or a set of modules, even a single small 1%, if it is even changed also, you need to run the complete module. You need to run actually. Say example, if I want to say one thing simple, I'll say you are having one module. So if you want to run this module, example, to check your output, it might have took 1 hour. Example, I'll say, okay, it might have took 1 hour. Now what happened? I might have added some extra feature now. If I add one extra feature, you might have checked that feature separately. That might have took only 2 minutes to verify the output. But what happened when I implement in the system that, again, what I should do? I should do the testing completely 1 second. So again, I should go for 1 hour only. So that is very, very important regression testing. So now during this design, it is common practice actually to run a regression script, that is regression tips repeatedly, that is to the previous state. every night. See, very important. This is what, because if you take a VLSA, as I said earlier, right? If it is, take say example, if it is a 16-bit, if it is a 16-bit, then, or you take 8-bit. If it is a 8-bit, then 8 register, then 2 to the power 16. How much will be? It will go as like in terms of, this only go in lakhs actually. If it is 4-bit, 4 registers, then 2 to the power 8, then 256. 256. So to one test vector, 1 minute means 256 minutes. 256 minutes means 4 hours around, correct? Now you can see what will happen like this. When I going during the design, it is common practice actually. We need to run a regression script every night after design activities have concluded, to check that bug fixes or feature enhancements are not broken completed modules. So the very important, before going to every night, actually we need to run the regression test, because if any modification is happened over there, so company routinely we have to check for bug fixes. If there is any bug in the sense error, we can say the troubleshooting, right? We can check the bug that should be fixed, or the feature enhancements have not broken completed modules. So this is one of the very important verification also, that is the regression testing. That is one of the very important. See here, you see the simple, I'll say the examples are showing here. It is like your how it will be done in the sense, example, you are having a one system like this, okay? If I go for a one system, this system is having like a ALU. This is data path. The example I'm taking as a data path, okay? Data path in the sense ALU plus shifter. So ALU has arithmetic logic operation and logical, right? Then shifter here. So when I want to do the regression verification, how it will be done in the sense, first it will won't do the, it has to do the testing for ALU, then it will do for the shifter. Then again in the ALU, it will test for each and every operation individually. Addition, subtraction, logical, all this. Again in the addition you go, it will check in the next level. Say example, adder you might have studied, carry look adder, carry save adder. So in that level it will go. Okay. Once it is checked like this, again it will go and check in the transistor level. So you see that from the low level to upper level, it will go and check completely. It has to update, because we cannot say in which level the update has done actually. So that will get updated. That is here the example here they choose. That is why. So testing the up converter, we are going to test the NCO. So under this test NCO, actually read write all the register will be regression testing. These are repeatedly phase incrementer, phase adder, sign ROM, then test the multiplier, then down converter, again same like this set will be there. So up converter will check, because when I'm going for test IQ conversion, that has up converter and down converter. First up converter, in that NCO will check, same the way down converter NCO like this. So when I go for a microprocessor core memory, so what will happen? First it will text a microprocessor. Inside the microprocessor, check the ALU. Inside the ALU, check the instruction decode. Instruction decode, again check the program counter. From the program, check the register file. In the rest, exhaust instruction set. So in this level, this is my lower level to high level, correct, right? So it will check like this one, it will check same, they will test memory read write. Then it will check the inter-process bus. Like this only your regression test will be happen normally. This is what the regression test we can say. The next is the version control. Now the version control is nothing but the version control system is a database. It is saying the database actually, version control, because this is your database. This is the database. Here, these are the version control, means people are working, correct? So all 4 members can access this database. So now what happened? This database which stores all the change record of your work. Whoever's doing, if they do any modification, they must to update. What are the old data will be replaced with the new data in the database. So now when multiple member of a team, because is one module. If I take one system, different module will work by different teams. So multiple members, when they work together on a shared project. This is like shared project actually. So it is important to keep incremental changes of all individual team members in synchronous in a common database. They may do some changes, these people may do some changes, these people may do some changes, this also they may do some changes. So once the changes is occurred, they have to update. Once they do changes, the update again will get update, here also will get update. Totally the database completely will get updated. So now the how it has to be done now, the version control, that is nothing but is combined with the regression testing, that is the use of versioning, that is the ordinary management of different design iterations. Now here, further to perform a version control, so there is some of the tools are available in Unix or Linux based, such as CVS. The name of the tool is CVS actually. This tool only they'll use for to perform the version control test. It is like a concurrent version system. Or the another one more tool is Subversion. The name of the tool is Subversion, are useful for this version control. Now bug tracking. This is a bug in the sense I can say, if you are working something, what will happen? There will be bug. Bug means error they may call. Correct? Error. So now the another important tool to use during the verification, that is also doing verification, that is nothing but what? Is a bug tracking system. Like if there is any error happen, any error, so we need to track the error. Correct? Like say example, so because one system, different module, each and every module assigned to different persons. How we can do that? Where this error, the bug is created, because so many levels will be there. So that will be assigned to the team. So once they're done, they have to update the status. It is kind of like the status only. Yes. So next, once the bug is cleared, then again we have to run. Say example, bug tracking system such as the Unix or Linux based, the tool, the bug tracking system tools is GNAX. This is one of the tool which is used for bug tracking. Allow the management of a wide variety of bugs actually. Only with the help of this software, we can manage the complete bugs. How the bugs completely will be, say example, this will be like this one. After the sense, I'll have the different bugs. This is the one bug, this is a bug, this is a bug. So like each and everything, this bug may related to some other person, this is may related to some other person, this may related to some other person, this may related to some other person. Now what they will do, they will assign this bug to the owner who has done this system or who has done this design. Then this will be assigned to them. Then this will be done to them like this. So in this system, each bug is entered and the location, the nature, and the severity of the bug is noted. So in the system, each bug will have the information of what? The location, who was done, from which location, then how much the severity of the bug is, whether it is a very more danger, minor or major issue. That will be. So now the bug discovered is noted along with the perceived person responsible for fixing the bug. So now when the bugs is discovered, once if I note, who is responsible for that? Who is responsible is who was the perceived person, the owner of this bug, in the sense who was designed the system. The person only is the sole and sole responsible for to fix the bug actually. So none of the person, say example, I can say example simple if I want to say, if I design a one circuit, okay, if something goes wrong in that circuit, the third person cannot able to identify where the problem is, because I only design the system, only I know where exactly the problem is happened. So this is kind of in that like that only. So now we can see here how the bugs will be. So the bug will be done like this in the tool. First, you have to start log bug. So this is the information log file they may call in your system. I hope you remember when you run any application, you will call the file will be generated with called as log file. You can see the log file will have what are the recent activities happened related to that information will be there in the log. When you are running something, if there is any error occurs, immediately corresponding to the log file will be generated. So say example, once a log file is generated, that log file only will have the much more information which will be there, where the problem is happened. Seeing the log file, it will be easy for us to identify or troubleshoot the mistake actually. So now that log bug, what they will do, they will assign the bug to the owner actually. First, the bug tracking tool support reporting the design issue. Next, assign the bug to design owners. That is what we have to assign bug to the owners. Next, what you have to do, we have to track the status of the bug, whether it is solved or not, whether it is fixed or not. So, fix bug. Once the bug is fixed, that will go to here. The bug is fixed means we have to go for validate. That is, we have to solve, right? That's to validate. If the bug is not fixed, again, what will happen? Again, we have to send to tracking. As same, like we have to fix the bug. Now, if we validate the fix, once it is validated, now we have to check the whether the bug is resolved. Whether that is the solve this design bug, then confirming that the bug is resolved by re-verification. So we have to do once again the re-verification in this step. So once it's re-verified, if the bug is confirmed or it is solved in the sense, yes, then it is properly cleared. Again, while doing the re-verification, there is a problem in the sense, again go back to fix the bug here. Again, it will do the work like this only. Now, what are the different tools which is used for bug tracking? These are the some common, very familiar tools, the Strica, Jira, Mantis. These are the different tools to work for in the verification for the bug tracking, for the bug tracking tools. These are the tools of bug tracking tools.